Hey, good morning. How are you doing, East Africa? Habari ya leo. Hope you're okay. I'm Jerome Postonko here on your daily Kickstarter. I'm here with Chantel. Good morning, Chantel.
Good morning, Jerome. How are you?
I'm okay. How is the morning? It's very cold.
Chilly, yes, really chilly, but yeah, I'm doing great.
You're doing great.
Yes.
Okay, and to all the viewers out there, wherever you are, thank you very much for sticking around to Spark Brains Business, the show that does kickstart off at 6:30 a.m. East African Standard Time, giving you details regarding business matters. And of course, we keep you updated and up to speed with all that matters business. And as a matter of fact, we are heading into the press review. I do have the Daily Monitor, and Chantel here has the New Vision with her as we take you through what is making headlines from these particular papers. And with the New Vision, rather with the Daily Monitor, the headline here is looking at inside the battle for workers' unions, as a section of NUTU officials accuse Mr. Asha Owere, the Chairman General, of incompetence, intrigue and dictatorship, among others. Now, Owere denies the accusation, saying that those plotting to oust him are trying to prevent finance-related and maladministration scrutiny, according to the Daily Monitor in here. And then there's also another report regarding an NRM supporter, Majambe, who has been petitioned by the Uganda Human Rights Commission. And then also from the other side of the coin, Prime Minister has rescued a woman from jail. The Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, has rescued a widow, mother of 7, from jail after paying a 2.8 million shilling debt. That is according to the Daily Monitor. What do you have with you in the New Vision, Chantal?
Well, in today's copy of the New Vision, the biggest headline is experts advising on the tough economy. Now, we all do know that things have not been going well, and the caption is, this economy is highly fragile if you can't even find money for working capital.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it's really been hard on Uganda, but according to some people, it's going to take about 2 to 3 years for us to actually get out of this recession we are facing, Uganda and actually world over.
You know, it actually takes me back to also the issue to do with the businesses that are closing down.
Every single time.
Every single time.
Yes.
And yet the taxes are being collected in multiple.
And they're still increasing. The taxes are still increasing.
Yeah.
Every now and then your area has some taxes that are imposing on us every single time.
Yes. So when you look at such reports, again, to the Ugandan community, the business community, especially the trader community, there's a lot to worry about, I should say, from that angle. But also here, the Daily Monitor has shown a crisis loom as public debt has hit 80 trillion Ugandan shillings.
We are way above the city.
Yes.
I would say we've gone to the roof.
We've hit the skies already.
Yes.
In regards to our public debt.
Yes, though the IMF came out sometime and was saying, you don't have to worry about that. We'll see how to work it out with the government. But why wouldn't you get and worry? If you and your kids and your grandkids are going to have to pay about each of you 1.5 million Uganda shillings.
And
as payment to it.
I think the IMF is not worried because we're going to go and apply for a loan anyway. So at the end of the day, it is not something they will be worried about. And I think we as Ugandans need to worry more about this situation because, man, I don't know whether if you have a loan, it's just like on a personal basis and you have a loan, you will not sleep happily. You'll still think about it. I don't know how comfortable the government is with these particular loans hitting to now the public debt hitting 80 trillion Ugandan shillings.
The question is, do they care?
They do, maybe.
Do they?
They do.
I don't know. That's a question I don't think actually they would have an answer to and a proper answer to.
You know, every other time we reach election times, that is the bigger question Ugandans ask themselves. Is the person we are sending to parliament really
the person we should be sending?
Does he really care about how our grievances and how we're actually moving? So those are some of the things that most people are worried about. So the Daily Monitor here is also having some business insights regarding the value-added tax as change causes headache for government suppliers. That is according to the Daily Monitor this morning.
And briefly, just what Ramadan Gobi said, this is the permanent secretary in the finance ministry. Over the weekend, he came out and said the government is supporting private sector recovery in a comparatively smarter way. These are the very same individuals that we have had controversies about over every now and then, the likes of Ramadan Gobe, the likes of Bahati, you know, and one of them was David Bahati, yes, was labeled the minister for borrowing at one point. And these are the very same people who are coming out to advise on private sector recovery.
Yeah.
But you can't say one thing and say another, because at the end of the day, Ugandans are going to sit and be like, so what is it? Which of these should we go with?
And the permanent secretary has always come through to public scrutiny lately. The reason being, ever since he went into that position, some Ugandans do believe he has been too silent for a moment, and he's only so fast to reply to very few matters. Not at the time when he was not yet in there, when he was still doing some advisory roles somewhere. But now things have really changed really fast. But anyway, when you're in the situation, you get to feel a different kind of heat, I should say.
Well, the other thing you would say is, do they have the power to actually come out and comment about some of these things and make the necessary recommendations? I would leave that to the viewer today. Do they have the power to go ahead and answer some of those questions and come out in public? Because if you are speaking, you're going to be speaking for the government.
Very true.
At that point. And is that what the government wants to put out? Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, yeah. And besides the news recap now, let's get some of your morning updates this morning as we look at the annual agricultural survey report for the year 2020. And we're going to have some figures in here regarding the performance of the agricultural sector. Now, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, agricultural statistics overall had 76% of agricultural households with heads that are engaged in agriculture as their main economic activity. And as you can see, agriculture employs approximately 72%.
Yes, of Ugandans.
Yeah, and the GDP contribution is hitting 32% according to the figures here. And other findings show that Uganda's post-harvest losses range from 30% to 40% for grains and 30% to 80% for fruit, for fresh fruit. And Honorable Bwino Chakulaga, who is the Minister of State for Agriculture, says that this is detrimental to the economy and urgent solutions need to be found. Shatala, I want to look at this situation of we want to do a lot of commercial agriculture to increase our exports.
Right.
Out of the country. But when you look at, I think, the sector now, most of the Ugandans feel better to do only subsistence agriculture for personal consumption, literally.
Well,
because
if you have been affected by some of the challenges that come with farming, then you would understand someone waking up in the morning and they're like, I'd rather farm for my family. Over the weekend, I was in Mukona and the people have land and everything, but they only go there to just pick food for their homes for the week or for maybe 2 weeks, and that's it. They're not considering commercial agriculture because the risk is too high. Yeah. And also, government has not really supported enough. I will still say this. Government has not supported agriculture enough.
And I think it also goes back to the fact that even the farmers are not getting enough money once they're selling their agricultural produce to the markets.
Very many challenges they face. For example, when you go to the villages, if you got a chance to grow up from some of those places, you realize that someone is going to come and tell them, oh, you have a garden, I'm offering you this much for your maize garden.
Yes.
Now that's the middleman. Collects the maize, goes and maybe adds some value or maybe not, and sells at a higher price. Same applies to different matoke, cows, name it. So the middleman earns more than the person who has put in the time and the energy to make sure that they have good produce. And the other unfortunate bit is that most of these farmers, especially in the villages, do not know the value of what they have.
Oh, and I believe when you say they have less value of what they have, it takes me back to some of my relatives deep in Buyikwe.
Right.
Some of them, if you ever get to interact with some of these people, they will tell you, as long as I have food.
Thank you. So they don't have that knowledge.
Even if someone is doing some coffee or they're actually doing some, let's say, maize cultivation and all that, they really don't care about taking to the market.
Let me give you a typical life of someone in the village.
Yeah.
They're going to wake up in the morning. They have so much land. They know I have matoke here, I have maize here, I have beans here, I have this. I'm planting for my family. Maybe some little to sell and buy meat once in a while and buy some clothes for my kids and take them to school. So in the morning, this person will wake up and give thanks. Oh, thank you, God, I've woken up.
True.
Go to the garden, dig, come back with food, cook, eat, and the family seems to be okay. Christmas reaches, so they buy clothes. Easter reaches, so they buy clothes. Maybe Eid as well, so they buy clothes. And maybe school fees. That's when they're going to be selling the sacks of beans, for example, to different schools just to get maybe school fees for the kids. And that's it. They're not aware of, I can sell my bags of coffee at this much, I can sell my maize at this much, and I'll get this kind of value. Even the planning for agriculture, if I have a certain plantation, for how long am I going to have it, how much am I putting in, how much am I supposed to get out? Business in that sense is not present. It's not.
So true. And surprisingly, the government does know, because the figures show that 76% of households are doing agriculture from the grassroots in the villages. Now, of which the 76%, they're saying in eastern Uganda, Teso region, apparently most of the households are already into this agriculture. Now, the
commercial
issue is
agriculture,
not commercial,
subsistence.
just subsistence.
Right.
Because most of them just do it because ideally it's like an economic activity that they can just settle with. But surprisingly, they do not look at the money at the end of it all. And some of the issues coming from some of these farmer groups, because at least some of them are under SACCOs, is that however much they send in their grievances to the government or the ministry, you'll get very few answers. Yeah. So I think there is another problem that the agricultural sector
takes me back to how much support government has given the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
I would say it's still lacking.
And even when we talk about value addition, that would be another report. Or another story. Anyway, besides that, now we also have an update regarding the insurance quarterly performance, as the demand for insurance, which is not yet a priority for the majority of the Ugandans, is highly influenced by macroeconomic factors. And as inflation stays in double digits, impacting purchasing power and limiting savings, the Insurance Regulatory Authority enhances on hitting the 15%, has literally said that they've hit the 15% growth with an 18% increment. As at the end of the year, they will definitely be seeing some growth. And currently, it is actually being revised to ensure that they move from 12% to 14.2%. Some figures in here. Now, when you look at Uganda's insurance sector's cumulative performance, as of end of September 2022, is what you're seeing on your screen. Well, if I think during my commerce studies regarding something to do with insurance, you'll get to realize some teachers do say Ugandans have negative mindset towards insurance. Some of them look at it as robbery.
Yes, I have a friend who works in insurance, and usually when she goes to the field, I want to get like feedback. How did it go in this area? She'll tell you people do not understand this. You're going to sit down with someone, explain it, but then after you're gone and probably they've signed up, they'll call you again to explain. And sometimes they even call, say, head office, and they're like, no, I want to cancel.
Yeah.
Because they've probably talked to someone else who says, no, don't do that. You're going to be ripped off.
Insurance, I still don't know why we still scared about our insurance. With all these premiums available, look at the insurance companies that we have. But still, very few Ugandans wish to go in to insure anything. Their lives.
Let me paint for you just a realistic picture.
Yeah.
How many times do you fall sick?
Very few times.
Thank you. And in most cases, when you fall sick, you're going to spend about how much? 100,000, 200,000?
Yeah, that's 100 because of a normal flu headache.
Thank you. And then you're here thinking, I'm going to be paying, say, 100,000, 150,000 per month.
Yes.
To this company.
To the
and then
company.
a year ends and I've not fallen sick. What happens to my money?
And insurance normally tells them you're not here to make profit. So that is something that scares most of the people.
Thank you.
I feel like,
and ordinary Ugandan is going to think a bit like, not 100,000. No, I can put it somewhere else. So, but then they're not considering things like you don't know what your body has until you actually are faced with a situation and you realize, oh, I was looking good on the outside, but on the inside I was sick. And probably
do-
that insurance
yes.
would actually come in to help.
And cover you up for the future
Yes.
projection.
Imagine days when you don't have that 100,000, that 200,000, that 300,000 to pay in hospital, or 500, but then your insurance cover can actually, you just go with a card. But many times you don't
yes.
consider those things.
We rarely think about the future, I believe. I think yesterday we did mention about how the mere fact that Ugandans only live for today, we shall look at tomorrow later on.
You look at it and say,
tomorrow. So tomorrow we look at the accountability later. Tomorrow has its own day, so we feel like tomorrow will come.
And the truth is,
We jump
Ugandan earns money, and that money is already stretched out by so many things. So for someone to spare that little money to save towards insurance, they would have tried. Trust me, they would have tried.
But nevertheless, we do remind you to come up, to actually go seek some of these insurers. You definitely need to ask out of the insurance premiums available from the insurance companies. They will take you through how you can, I was almost going to say invest in insurance, how you can start up an insurance policy for yourself.
Well, there is actually policies that help with
Saving for maybe
Yes.
retirement and all.
maybe not retirement,
for
yes,
calls.
retirement if you want, but say if in the next 5 years I want to do something, I could save up that money through an insurance company, and they'll give you like a percentage of sorts. So it's now upon the insurance companies and the Insurance Regulatory Authority to also come out and educate Ugandans.
It's true.
And let them know that, you know what, this is actually going to help you in so many ways. And different insurance companies have different services they offer. I wouldn't want to break all those things down right now, but let's try and help ourselves as Ugandans.
Yes, very true. And for you as a Ugandan, you should be looking at these various insurance companies that are available, I should say. And you can choose one. You go in, the terms and conditions do apply. Remember, before you go in to choose a premium or do an investment for maybe a future goal, they will clearly give you the terms and conditions. And then you'll have to take an outlook before you make the decision. But it's very wise of you to start getting aware of insurance and its importance, because it's good for your children maybe, because most of the adverts I'm saying now, the biggest insurance cover is about child education lately, and some parents are really picking into it.
Well, if my child is not yet of school going age and I'm saving up for it, you never know what happens. You know, COVID showed us that anything can happen. Nobody ever expected that there would be a time when we spend months at home without working and thousands of individuals lose their jobs.
Yes.
Now that opened our eyes to, we need to actually think about
It's more like a
plan
backup
B.
plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, after the break, we are having the Karibu East Africa. Not only that, we also have the SMB International News coming up shortly. Good morning.
Smart 24